मजहब के मरहलों से मुझको न तुम गुजारो, मैं देश हूँ तुम्हारा, हिंदोस्तान पुकारो। मिट जाएंगे अंधेरे, रोशन चराग होंगे, मिलजुल के आसमां के बन जाओ तुम सितारो। मेरी ज़मीं ने तुमको अज़मत की रोशनी दी, मैंने तुम्हें संवारा, अब तुम मुझे संवारो। India is a country with over 900 million people. It is the largest democratic nation in the world. The Muslims in India, while accounting for about 13% of the Indian population, constitute an aggregate of about 130 million people, which, apart from being the second largest Muslim population in the world, represents a population figure bigger than that of 160 out of the 181 sovereign states of the world, and more than the total Muslim population either of Pakistan or Bangladesh. That is why to refer to Muslims only as minority is a crude simplification of a complex problem. Only in numerical proportion they are a minority. Otherwise, in terms of their absolute number, social cultural heritage, and political relevance, the Muslims constitute the second dominant segment of the Indian people in several ways, exhibiting even traits of majority consciousness, confidence, and assertion. At the dawn of independence, when asked about the role of Muslims, Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru stated that Muslims are no more the rulers or the ruled, they are the co-rulers. Today, India is entering a new era. It has opened its door to the whole world. New reforms are taking place. India is determined to move forward on the path of peace, progress, and prosperity. To ensure our success, it is important that we understand the need of this valuable and critical time. We all, whether Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, or any other community, come under the same flag and have one common goal, that is, India's progress and prosperity. Today we intend to look at some of the problems that Indian minorities are facing, especially Muslims. It is true that presence of Muslims on the soil of Indian subcontinent is centuries old, and they have made extensive contributions to the country's peace, progress, and prosperity. But unfortunately, statistics paints a different picture. It tells us that a large number of Muslims in India are still uneducated, their representation in the government and government services is extremely low, their economic and social status needs attention, and their rights are often violated. Indeed, it sounds very surprising for a country that has the largest democracy in the whole world. What you're about to see in this video are the problems faced by Indian minorities, specifically Muslims, in the areas of education, politics, and social welfare through a collection of interviews that were conducted in India and in the United States. We talked to various prominent politicians, educationists, entrepreneurs, professionals, and businessmen about issues concerning minorities and how to resolve those issues. Our intent was to raise an awareness of the seriousness of the problems faced by the minorities and how we, as Indians abroad, can together resolve our differences and work together towards one goal, that is, India's progress and prosperity. Islam in India, particularly at the mass level, was profoundly influenced by the Sufi saints and other religious scholars. Sufi saints such as Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti of Ajmer, Khwaja Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, Khwaja Fariduddin Ganshakar, and many more were the finest specimen of mankind known to any part of the world. They were known as saints of the people. This is evident even today, where we see people of all religions pay respect to these great saints by offering prayer at their mazars. These saints built bridges between the rich and the poor and between groups and communities. They softened the enmity between communities and placed man as an expression of the divine in the center of all activities. They yearned for love as the supreme expression of all creation and indeed the manifestation of the divine. Indian Muslims today play a major part in the various industries such as brassware in Moradabad, carpets in Badaui, Varanasi, electronics in Allahabad, handloom in eastern Uttar Pradesh, silk in Varanasi, and crafts in Kashmir and Saharanpur. These products are sold nationally and constitute a significant part of the total export market outside India. India has witnessed world-class minority political leaders such as Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Dr. Zakir Hussain, Zail Singh, Dr. Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, and George Fernandez, just to name a few. Some of the famous research institutes, such as National Institutes of Oceanography, the Zoological Survey of India, were headed by Dr. Zahoor Hasan and Dr. Shamim Jairaj Puri, renowned Muslim scholars of India. In sports, world-famous personalities in cricket such as Nawab Patodi and Syed Kirmani have dominated the sport during their reign. Even today, Azharuddin, captain of Indian cricket team, is breaking records in cricket. The Indian film industry, which is one of the world's largest film industry, cannot deny the contributions of Muslims in its development. Artists like Dilip Kumar, Sarah Bano, K. Asif, Wahida Rahman, Sarina Wahab, Shabana Azmi, Javed Akhtar, Zakir Hussain, Bismillah Khan, Kamal Amrohi, Naushad, Muhammad Rafi, and Khwaja Ahmad Abbas have earned a reputation of legends in their fields. Innumerable verses from the Holy Quran and many sayings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, can be quoted which explicitly urge Muslims to explore deeper into the mysteries of the earth and the heavens. It is also said that in the quest for knowledge, if one had to travel to China, farthest part of the known world during that period, to seek knowledge, then they should. Knowledge, hence, is the key to all success. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the first notability in modern India who pointed out that the Muslims' real problem was not political, but educational. He therefore advised Muslims against actively joining in politics and urged them to concentrate instead on education. And yet, we Muslims in India have paid little attention to the acquisition of knowledge. Dr. Ruqayya is an alumni of Aligarh Muslim University. We asked her about AMU as a Muslim university.
It was a very well-known education institution, and they provide education to everybody. It provides not just a high standard of education. When we were there, it also we felt like the cultural needs were met, the educational needs were met, and also we felt like that we were in the environment which is Islamic environment, which is not easy to find every place in India.
I emphasize education and the proper training to be one of the attributes for anybody's success, and I would like to stress very much upon that. Education, education and education.
How can a non-resident Indian such as like you can help them?
Again, it will have to be done by proxy. We are not there. So we will have to make sure that we support institutions which are in India, financially, professionally, providing them information, providing them guidance, assistance in whatever we can do. We will have to assure that we can establish institutions or help establish educations which then in turn will give the training, will give the information, will give the encouragement, will provide the mentorship, will provide the role model for the Muslims to exceed. It is not only for Muslims. If you look at India at large, the kind of potential India has, and I'm talking about every Indian, we have not obtained its full potential. It's because somehow we have not channeled our resources. And I do not stop my role in the United States as an Indian Muslim. My role in the United States is an Indian. And many a times I think, how can I help India? And the same thing which I have described to you, that will work for anybody. That will work in a community where I come from Gorakhpur, or Uttar Pradesh, or India at large.
I think in India, minorities have opportunities for education to a satisfactory level?
Yeah, it's both minorities and the so-called underprivileged class in general. The gap between the wealthy and the poor is pretty big in India, as you can see. So the opportunities become much more difficult for even the underprivileged because of the gap between the rich and the poor. And also, on top of it, the minority people who have to struggle harder to get the same education level. So that has to be made easy in some form.
So what can be done to make it easy?
Well, again, around the world, if you look around, there has to be a conscious way to sort of promote this, get the best talent to go and get the right education and become successful. We need to make that available. I don't believe quota system is the right answer to do that. I think it's just being able to provide easier ways to get education. That would be where a common person can afford. It would be a much better way to get there.
So what do you do in a kind of situation when you have a quota system for a part of the population and you don't have any quota system whatsoever for other part of the population?
Well, I think that's real double standard. I think we need to fix that.
We need to fix that.
College is classified as a minority institution. What makes this institution a minority institution?
This is purely minority institution, and in this institution, first preference is given to Muslim students, and then afterwards we give admissions to non-minority students. First we provide admissions to minority Muslim students, even though if they get a lower class.
हम लोग ये चाहते हैं कि मुसलमानों को भी इसमें शामिल किया जाए। जैसा कि अभी आप पढ़े होंगे कि आंध्र प्रदेश में कुछ 17 जातों को उसमें जो है रिजर्वेशन किए थे, लेकिन अब जो है तेलुगु देशम की गवर्नमेंट आने के बाद और जो जिन जातों को नहीं था उनको इजाफा करके उनको मराद दे रही है, लेकिन मुसलमान लोगों जब उसमें नाम शामिल होने के बावजूद उनको खत्म कर दिया गया।
That the quota system, when it starts, that's a good idea initially to start off. For example, when it was started in India, it was for lower castes and backward tribes and so on and so forth. That's what I feel. But what they were doing was that they were trying to give them opportunities to move out from with the existing condition into medical schools or engineering schools so that they can get better jobs. Now, it's, since independence or since the quota system was established, I think that the quota system needs to have a term limit or time limit, so that after it's set its goal, it's picked up a lot of people, then it can be expired or it can be said that okay, now this program has served its purpose, let's close this program down. But initially, to start off with, I think it's a great program. It should have, in the planning stages, it should have some kind of term limit so that it's not abused. Like right now.
We started the Pan-American School, and we have got tremendous response. Not only from the minority sections of the Indian community, but also from the majority community also. But as is our policy, we always prefer whenever a minority student comes, we give a preference to him or her over our other countrymen, because we have a feeling that our community is lagging behind in education, and the main cause of our poverty and our ignorance is ignorance. So I thought that this class of ignorance should be wiped out.
When it comes to economics, some of the important industries such as brassware in Moradabad, silk and carpets in Varanasi, electronics in Allahabad, handloom in eastern Uttar Pradesh, and crafts in Kashmir and Saharanpur have been served by Muslims. However, very little help from the government or private sector has been extended to uplift Muslims in this area. Muslims in Charminar, Hyderabad, have formed a cooperative bank which helps Muslims as well as other minorities financially.
Yeah, our bank is especially in Hyderabad, we are doing a very good thing for minorities here. Our loans and advances, also one thing I will tell you earlier, most of the Muslims and other people also, especially for taking loans against jewelry, gold jewelry. These people were going to money lenders here in Hyderabad.
and money lenders were charging very high rate of interest, 4% per annum. If you take 4%, yearly it will go 48%. So now normally banks are charging, urban banks, they are giving very good service towards loans against gold jewelry. So they charge 18%, 17%, 19% likewise. So we are also getting very good response in this category of loans. Daily we issue around 200 loans in head office as well as in branches. We have very good response, we have very good customer care. So those ladies and other people who are going to money lenders to take this loan against jewelry, because in emergency cases only they will go there. Right. And sometimes they will be exploited by money lenders by taking too much interest. So those customers, they are getting very good benefit from our bank. And we give petty small loans also to small traders. We are giving loans to shops, kirana shop, general store. We are giving loans under transport categories. So mostly we are giving to minorities here. Minorities means we give to Muslims also, we give to Christians, and we are keeping our weaker section percentage also intact. We give to scheduled caste people, scheduled tribes, and weaker section also.
The contributions of Indian Muslims in the field of architecture is very visible in India. Every other historical building is a living monument of Muslim architecture. Thousands of tourists from all over the world come to visit historical sites such as Taj Mahal of Agra, Qutb Minar and Red Fort of Delhi. Mr. Jamal Hussain Ansari is a professor in School of Town Planning and Architecture. We asked him specific questions relating to Muslim architecture in India. Mr. Ansari, in some of the Mughal monuments we see a blend of Hindu and Muslim architecture. Could you explain the reason for this?
Well, there are several buildings in India where these kinds of blends of Muslim and Hindu architecture can be seen. I think this is reflected in the fact that always side by side the Muslim craftsmen, the Hindu craftsmen also work. They use the local style, they use the local building materials in order to carve out a very secular architectural style. And one can visit even Qutb Minar in Delhi, the famous mosque around that, where you can see the various features and details in which you definitely find the use of Hindu style of architectural elements incorporated in the buildings.
How is Islamic planning of cities different than those of other religions, cultures?
In the field of planning, which is my area of expertise, about 10 years ago, I did a detailed study on Hyderabad, the walled city of Hyderabad, and the walled city of Delhi, which is known as Shahjahanabad, where I tried to study to what extent the Muslims, during whose era these two cities were constructed, have really reflected the Muslims' styles of culture and living patterns. And I found that there is a great extent of influence on these two cities of the Muslim lifestyle, in the sense that if you look at the road patterns in these cities, they are all determined by the fact that in an area like this, the mosque happens to be the most prominent building. In the case of Shahjahanabad, the Jama Masjid, and in the case of Hyderabad, the Mecca Masjid, and the Charminar. Now, in all these cases, once you take the mosque, which is more or less generally a rectangular structure, and the entries face to the east, to the south, and to the north.
Mr. Salahuddin Owaisi has done an excellent job in helping Muslims in various areas of education. He, along with the support and help from his party, has established Deccan Engineering College, Deccan Medical College, and also has recently opened a 1,000-bed hospital in Hyderabad. This hospital was under construction when we visited Mr. Owaisi. It is one of the largest hospitals in Asia. Mr. Owaisi, Since the tragic destruction of Babri Masjid, what is the government of India doing to ensure the safety of other Muslim places of worship?
अब ये तो कह तो रही है कि हम हर तरीके का करेंगे, लेकिन आप जानते हैं कि चरार शरीफ में क्या हुआ, जबकि 3 मरतबा का उनको तजुर्बा था, सुनहरे गुरुद्वारे का तजुर्बा था, हजरत बल का तजुर्बा था, बाबरी मस्जिद का तजुर्बा था, उसके बाद भी फिर चरार शरीफ का वाक़या होना क्या माने रखता है?
After watching experts speak on this very important topic, it becomes imperative that we indulge our discussions on resolving the above issues that we raised and move on to promote integrity and brotherhood among all Indians, irrespective of race and religion. We now take you to some of the successful Indians living in the U.S. who express their opinions on how to promote integrity among various communities. They also suggest how Muslim representation in various sectors can be increased.
It's obviously a major priority item, not only for the government of India, but also for various state governments, because education is really a local issue. It's not a national, it is not governed by somebody from New Delhi, because the ministries of education in various states, they do control the school systems, the colleges, etc. And what has happened is that the opportunities that some minorities were exposed to were significantly narrower compared to majority. Therefore, the universities and colleges had a smaller pool to choose from rather than from a larger pool. So I think these kinds of inequities have to be addressed. And I'm not sure if having a reservation system or a quota system would be that much helpful. Because I think if you're living in a free society, in the long term, not in the short term, in the long term, I think it has to be a free market where people, irrespective of their cultural and religious background, should be able to compete, and the best person gets the job or a seat. But on the other hand, if the best person gets the position, it does not mean people who did not make it should be subjugated to a second-class existence. They should be given some other opportunities where they can make up for the opportunities lost.
I guess my upbringing was such that my parents were able to induce into my mind the fact that you should judge a person for who he is or who she is, not really go by the religion, the beliefs, all the kind of thing which essentially become segregatory items. And some of my very close friends are Muslims, and I have stayed with them, spent a considerable amount of time understanding their culture, understanding their views, their ideas, and I haven't seen all that much different. Well, let me put it this way, there are more things we have in common than things that separate us or differentiate us.
AFME is a non-profit organization whose highest priorities continues to be the eradication of illiteracy among Muslim children through grassroots campaign of motivation and awareness. Also, rehabilitation of Muslim institutions, vocational guidance for specialized courses, scholarships to deserving and needy students, and establishment of Center of Excellence. AFME's second Gala Award program, held in New Delhi on 23rd through 25th of December 1994, along with the international conference, was a grand success. Through their political education and awareness programs, they have been able to bring forces espousing social justice and upliftment of downtrodden people together, which is likely to have a positive impact on the Indian political scene.
तो आरक्षण की मांग हम इसलिए नहीं करते हैं कि हम उनको भीख उनके ऊपर में हमको कोई भीख चाहिए या दया चाहिए। हमको इसलिए चाहिए कि भारत की आजादी में हमारा योगदान है। बाप और बेटा में झगड़ा हो तो बाप बेटा से जब तक झगड़ा करे समझ जाओ घर में शांति कायम है, लेकिन जिस दिन बेटा बाप से बोलना बंद करे उस दिन समझ जाओ घर में कलह आने वाला है। आज 6 दिसंबर 1992 के बाद कोई बैकवर्ड नौजवान कोई बोल नहीं रहा है कि हमको बाबरी मस्जिद बनाओ नहीं बनाओ, ठीक है तुम तोड़ने का काम कर रहे हो तोड़ो। तुमने तोड़ दिया, कह दिया कि बाबरी मस्जिद देश का कलंक था, कलंक भी तेरा। मैंने पार्लियामेंट में कहा था पार्लियामेंट हाउस को भी तोड़ दो।
We asked our interviewees living in the US about their message to people of India to promote peace and brotherhood among various communities.
Assalamu alaikum to all my brothers and sisters in India, and for them to know that we haven't forgotten you. You're still in our du'as and in our hearts, and inshallah we should try more to keep in touch with one another and have closer ties, and that you'll always be in our hearts and prayers.
Right.
The message should be that the brothers and sisters who have left their motherland, like myself, we still maintain very strong emotional bondage with them. We have left the shores, but we have not left the heart.
True.
And what we need to do is now, because of the high technology in communications and increasing technology in transportation, the world is really becoming smaller and smaller.
True.
And now there is such a two-way connection between India and other countries. Hopefully with this kind of rapid communications, I hope that the gulf amongst us will decrease and we don't feel that we are really separated by oceans and oceans. At the most, you are not visible there, but at the same time, you are just one phone call away, or one visual display away. So I think the message should be that we do feel strongly for the well-being of people in India, and because if people in India are not happy, then we have not done something right living abroad.
I guess to succeed as a nation, we, no matter where we are, we have to be able to say that we are Indian first, and then a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Sikh, of whatever nature. So I think the thing is that from here, sitting here, we can look saying that what are the problems that India is facing, but when you're in there, you're so much in that whirlpool that you're not quite aware of where exactly the problem is, what exactly you need to do. So they need to understand that we need to start giving more importance to the nation as against giving all the importance to the religion. And we being so many thousands of miles away from home doesn't mean that we washed our hands off the nation. We are here, we care, and if there's any single thing that we can do to help, we should be able to tell them that, please come to us. We are accessible. There are a lot of programs that have started. You have a lot of different villages that are being adopted, a lot of different children that are being adopted for their upbringing, upliftment, and that kind of thing. So I think the community needs to, and again, I cannot just say the community needs to do that, because everybody else has to give them that opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, it's again a give and take. Again, back to the keyword, communication. So, you talk to them, they talk to you, and get rid of this fear.
Right.
We don't need to hate anybody. You might dislike somebody, but you don't need to hate everybody.
Absolutely.
Once again, I think education. Give the most importance to the education. Our young people there, I think we as Muslims in the United States and also all the Muslims in India should encourage education and also emphasize the importance of education to all the young people in India. I think once they have the tool attained, I think we can survive in India and also we can advance.
Muslims in India have to be confident Muslims. They have to feel equal partnership with India. They have to make sure that they are taking part to bring the prosperity, the peace and progress in India, which is India is doing. Indians will have to make sure that they have been given the right, the equal right of the citizenship by the Constitution of India, that brings the rights as well as lot of responsibilities. The rights are that they will have to demand equality. The responsibility is that they have to work as an equal. Indians should do whatever they can to bring upon their economic success. It is up to them to do it. They will have to strive. They will have to behave with the people so that the people will be giving them the chance to attain their progress, their successes. If I go back to the Quran says that Allah Ta'ala is not going to help any nation which does not help itself. So my message to my Muslims in India is, do not depend on anybody. Be confident. Go and do it, and Allah is going to help you achieve the best in you and the best for India.
The quest for a new civilization, pursued through the methods of enticement and consent, and based on the values of democracy like friendliness, adult franchise, representative institutions, rule of law, secularization of politics, and socialization of economy, is an ongoing process. Its pace and momentum depends primarily on the capacity of the dominant elite to elicit the cooperation of people belonging to the many segments that constitute India. For a democratic solution of national problems involves not only the approval and commitment of the majority segment, but also the concurrence and involvement of the minority groups. Indeed, it is only in a democracy that a minority can aspire and demand to be treated with dignity and seriousness by the majority. Precisely because democracy in the ultimate analysis treats human being as human being and not merely as a member of a group, and that too an ascriptive group based on birth, property, race, religion, and the like. Jai Hind. This has been an AFME presentation.
शम्सु